Syria, where the crisis there is escalating, and its most important international ally, Russia, acknowledges for the very first time that President Assad may be losing control. Russia's deputy foreign minister saying the opposition could win the civil war. And this is coming as we're learning the regime is firing Scud missiles at rebel fighters. The Obama administration says it sees this move as the latest bid to push back at the opposition as it gains ground. However, in Syria, an official there is denying any claims that the government is using those Scud missiles at all. So a lot of chaos on the ground. We know that to be true. Jonathan Schanzer is with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, we've watched this play-by-play for 21 months. You say right now, though, is a significant time. Why?
Well, I think that, first of all, we're seeing the regime fire on its own assets. In other words, the Scud rockets are firing right now from one Syrian base controlled by the Syrian regime against another base that appears to be at least on the verge of being taken over by the rebels. And so it appears that the regime is actually destroying its own assets. That's significant. The fact that they're firing off these Scud rockets, I think, this is some heavyweight stuff, and I think they're nearing kind of the bottom of the barrel. I've also read reports that they've been dropping naval mines from the air. Again, it looks like they're just sort of right at the end of the ordnance that they might have readily available. So you get this sign that there's some real desperation here, and we've been hearing for months now that the tide is turning. Now that we have Russia finally ceding this as well, I don't want to make predictions here, but I do think that we're in the 11th hour.
What about the chemical weapons? Where are they? Who has them?
Well, that's the big question. Right now the Israeli intelligence is out there saying that the chemical weapons are still locked up, that there's no risk of having them come out. But of course, we've heard different reports from the ground. Really uncertain at this point. But we are seeing reports this morning from Al Hayat newspaper, which is based out of London. It's a Saudi-owned source, that the Syrians might actually be trying to fire on the chemical stockpiles that are near where the rebels have gained ground. And so the idea here might be, and again, this is unconfirmed, but we're hearing that they may be trying to create a chemical disaster by not actually even firing off chemical weapons, but rather shooting areas where they're being stockpiled.
Very interesting. It would also prevent, obviously, those chemical weapons from falling into who they consider the enemy, which is the opposition. We heard this week, of course, from the Obama administration late last week about the red line. If those chemical weapons are used, then well, we don't really know then what. But that's been the statement so far from the administration. You say it's too little too late for us now to get involved. Why?
Well, this has been going on for almost 2 years. We've had an opportunity to go in there at every step of the way to try to help shape the opposition, to help weed out the bad apples, to help identify who some of the more moderate figures might be. And we punted. Really, for the first year, we didn't even really engage. In fact, I would argue that our policy was to simply not know the opposition. Now we are engaging, but at this point, we're watching chaos unfold on the ground.
Real quick, Jonathan, if I could, I was looking back at Bosnia. Yeah. I know that it's not they're very different situations, but it took us 3 to 4 years to get involved in Bosnia. And according to one report from the Brookings Institute, the reason why Clinton decided to go in is that Bosnia was becoming a cancer, that's what they thought, to their foreign policy. Overall, in that part of the world, do you think Syria is in that same space for the Obama administration? Is that where the cost-benefit is coming in?
Well, I think so. Let's just look at the fact that we've got 30 to 40,000 people that have been killed. You've got a chemical weapons problem that looks like it's going to be difficult to contain. You've got Al-Qaeda creeping up in this part of the world. And then let's not just forget all of these critical countries that border Syria, right? You've got Iraq, where we've invested blood and treasure that could come, at risk by having an overflow from Syria. Obviously, the Nusra Front is from Iraq in the first place, so you're looking at some cross-fertilization there. You've got Lebanon, which is a highly unstable country, controlled in large part by Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy. You could watch things spill over there. You've got the Israelis, obviously, biting their nails.
You say it's too late, so then what do we do? If that's the case, then what do we do now?
Well, I think, we're going to have to wait and see how the administration takes next steps here. But I don't see anything that we can do right now to ensure that the right people come to power. What we're doing now is designating al-Qaeda types and other radicals and saying we shouldn't be working with them. But at this point, I don't think we've got much skin in the game. So this might have been just a missed opportunity for the administration, and that's a real shame.
That's very interesting. You say, just as we've heard from the administration, we're not working with that group, but then the next question is, what are we doing from preventing that group from coming to power in that country? That sets us up for another good segment. Jonathan, it's always great to have you on the program. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks.